name is Jakub. I live and work from Warsaw, Poland, when I run an organization called Outriders. We primarily do two things. One is we run a platform, Outride.rs, where we cover global issues which have local impact. So issues which do not happen physically in our country, but they play an important role. We focus on migration, intersection of technology and society, or environmental issues. But we also run Outriders Network, which is a knowledge-sharing platform for journalists. And I have one bad news for you today, which is my presentation might be a little bit positive. But I hope that you will survive through the next 11 minutes and 20 seconds, and I guess I will try to tone it down for you especially, and be a little bit negative. But the problem with positivity is that we as an organization, and I myself, from the beginning, we wanted to focus on building things which are good rather than fight things which are bad. And in this spirit, I want to talk to you today. So the first, like the Zero Fink, which I wanna just tell you, maybe you know it, maybe you don't know it. There is a new category of journalism being entertained, being born all across the world. This is the old type of journalism. So when we have the audience and when someone talks to the audience, it's a top to the bottom approach, very arrogant. Journalists are unable to find themselves with the audience, actually. They're very used to telling them what to think, especially these days. This hopefully will die at some day. This is not journalism in our thinking. It's actually very, very bad for the society. Whereas there are this new category is actually, do you see it? Do you see it perfectly? It's actually going in between people, so very much community-oriented media. And it's not only that they are more and more dependent financially on their community, it's because many of those organizations are actually started by people who were not journalists before. They were FOIA activists, open data activists, influencers, basically people who understand that a healthy society not only needs healthy food, but also healthy information. And they see that media are unable to deliver it, so they started to create those organizations. What is really interesting, I come from a very polarized society. We see startups and we see techniques which you can call conversation management or conversation journalism, where you have organizations which the only journalism is managing conversation between different groups. And by far the best example and the pioneer of this is an organization called Mutante from Colombia. And I really encourage you to check them out. They use all of the tools which you have just seen here, but for good. And this is really important. Talking to different groups. One is polarization, which we usually address on a very national, big level, and so on. But the third, I actually came here with four thoughts I want you to remember. Before the first one, those new organizations, they engage their audience on all aspects of publishing. So it's not only that you work in secret, create the publish button, and you're ready to receive a award. You actually work with this community on every level. Why? Because those new organizations, that they don't live in the past. They take the future they take today as it is, and they optimize for the future we should be fighting for. So one of the things which is crucial, and that's a quote which you hear on every journalism event, which is like, the trust to media goes down. It does. But you can see many organizations to which trust actually goes up. So it's actually a matter of asking a right question. So the first thing which I want you to really think about is this idea of a group. We see that more and more tools optimizes for small or medium-sized groups. It happens on WhatsApp, it happens on Telegram. Telegram also allows supergroups. How did Facebook solve the problem of newsfeed? Told everyone, start your own groups. There was a fascinating piece of research when Google+, which no longer exists, was created. And Google said, we as human beings, we have plenty of faces. I am a father, I'm a public speaker, I'm a journalist, I'm a colleague, I'm a Star Trek fan. And in every of those groups, you are different, slightly different, not in a fake way. We simply behave differently. And Google Plus was designed this way. Facebook had a different approach. Facebook said, no, you are only one. And in a short run, Facebook won, technically speaking. But I'm not sure if, right now, when you look at your Facebook, what do you see? You see your friends and your groups. Facebook is right now Google Plus, in essence, actually. So those groups are very important because that, I believe, is the start of rebirth of our small thinking in terms of the groups we have, and we create the technical infrastructure for our families, for our neighbors, for fans, and whatever. And we are actually having much more engaged discussions within those groups. Even, I am a Star Trek fan. I have over 3,000 friends, and out of those 3,000 friends, only 10 of them are Star Trek fans. But when I talk to only those 10, the discussion is lovely. When I talk to 3,000 about Star Trek, they're like, "You're stupid, Jakub." So it's different, you know? The second thing, which I'm a huge fan of, it's basically what's gonna be a massive trend, already is, but it's gonna be with us for at least next 2 to 4 years, which is going vertical. And we can see that on many platforms adopting it. You know, finally we understood that there is a certain way we hold the phone and that the content we receive should be done this way and it should be diminished. Just last week, Twitter started to test their own stories format in Brazil called Fleets. It's going to be also disappearing after 24 hours. LinkedIn just recently announced they are also rolling out visual stories. Now, this is, I could convince you why it's so important and why it works. It works, it's growing like hell for past years, especially since adoption by Instagram, because Snapchat was the first one, and so on and so on. Stories format is easy, it's visual, it's compelling, it's also very engaging, because the moment we pick up the mobile phone, we always pick it up to do an action. There is always some shitty notification waiting for us to just take it away. But it's also a very great tool to actually engage on it. And you can see a lot of media who are only optimizing for this platform, creating custom stories, custom visuals. But what is really great, for us as an organization, this is where we actually talk mostly to our audience when they share our information through their visuals, through their own channels and so on. We also run dedicated stuff on it and so on. And here is an example story which I wanted to show off. It was very popular last year, but it's maybe not the best timing for another outbreak story. You have to create those stories absolutely differently. They look absolutely different on desktop. They look absolutely different on mobile. But our traffic is 70% of the mobile. Not maybe unfortunately, but I was taught to access technology through desktop. We have the first generation or generations which never watched 7 p.m. news or bought a newspaper. The challenge of creating a habit of consuming healthy information is a huge challenge. But the visual thing, what I really like about it is that in order to become popular on YouTube, to become popular on Instagram, it's not only to know algorithms, but you have to show your face. If you think about it, it's much easier to create a fake article, which is just text with some fake name. On Instagram, if you go to your stories, you see faces of people all the time talking to you. That is much, much harder to fake. People trust other people. Yes, there's also a possibility, now it's me trying to be a little bit negative, but I actually believe, that this aspect of showing your face is a crucial thing why it works and why people are so engaged into it. The third thing is going back to the positive side. So there was so many anti-hate speech campaigns that I started to hate those anti-hate speech campaigns. But so we sat down and we said, how can we engage people so they can talk respectfully? And the idea was that we will use GIFs, because GIFs are becoming part of a language which we use on all of the visual platforms. You can easily add them and so on. And we started to create GIFs so people can say, thank you for your opinion, it's good to talk. And that is actually an old movie, but we started we gave people, we call it a dictionary. There's currently 27 GIFs in the database, which is like, I disagree with you, but you are a good person, stuff like this. And when we release a story which we know is going to be highly polarizing, let's say the vaccine story, because before people read it, we immediately get we say you can only comment it using love speech, because that's how it's called, love speech. So, and here you have 500,000 views. I checked it this morning. It's actually 3.6 million views of GIFs. If you go to your Instagram and pull up GIF search for love speech or mowa miłości in Polish, and those GIFs will pull up there. So we were like really amazed in a good way. We are working on the second part of this campaign to be released in a couple months, because our optimization was 250,000 views. So we are actually exceeding this by far and by far. But the reception was really nice by people. They really wanted to talk. They simply didn't have tools to actually engage with others into this conversation. And the number 4, which I wanted to give you, well, number 4 is disappearing. You can see that more and more of our communication is actually disappearing. Stories, almost on all platforms, they disappear after 24 hours. Besides YouTube, YouTube Reels is active for 7 days. WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, they all give you the ability to send a disappearing text message and so on and so on. Privacy is becoming an important, unique selling point for companies and businesses. And once that happens, it's really good for us as a society. There is a recently launched startup in the United States called DMarkup, which collects no data about the users. They don't leave a single cookie unless there is a slight situation when they have to do it. But their policy is like this. No, they collect you, if you collect no data, that means that you're optimizing for absolutely different business model. You don't need this. So that is something really important to understand, that visual gives you the power to actually build the audience around you. It's actually much harder to combat with with creating all those negative things. The second thing is that the microgroups are super important because they are the power of healthy society. And the third thing is that we don't care that much about our online places. We come from more or less looking at the average age here where everything was public. The Twitter feed, I encourage you to go and check out your first tweet. You'll be really embarrassed by it. And that is, just to leave you on the positive side, all of that for me add up, that my mission of my organization is actually fight with the polarization so people can talk with each other, and all of that is, for us, is actually creating a foundation so different groups can talk with each other. Thank you very much.